There is so much to be thankful for. Take a look around and see everything we have within us, everything we want to be. All we need to sustain and keep us arise on time as we prepare. Let us thank God for our blessings and all His precious love we share. There is so much to be thankful for. Take a look around and see everything we have within us, every dream we want to be.
Okay, well, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, after that song, I really don't know what I could possibly add, because that's really the message. But I have a few other thoughts, so let me proceed. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now, this month of October, there's a theme, and it's called Cosmic Connections. Cosmic Connections. And we're in week 3 of investigating those ideas about our connections. Our connection to our source, which is God by many names. From many people see it, call it differently, but it's the same thing. But this week, I've been asked to reflect on Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Do you all remember that song?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sing it.
Do it.
I would really love to do that one day and just surprise everyone,
Yes.
including myself.
All right.
And as a girl, I used to love to sing just from the pure joy of it. Up until someone criticized me. Who do you think you are?
No.
You can't sing.
No.
And I guess I believed them as a child. And that happens many times. Not necessarily true. There are all kinds of voices, correct?
Yes, you can sing here anytime.
Oh. Well, let's see. Do you speak for the people over here?
I know some people.
You know some people. Okay. All right. So I like to define the term. So we're talking about the same thing, because there's many ways to talk about these subjects. Now, Ernest Holmes, in the Dictionary of New Thought Terms that he created to explain this book, earlier version, but nevertheless, The Science of Mind. And we talk about this idea of the cosmos. What do you think when you talk about the cosmos? The sun, the moon, the stars, anything else? All of that. Well, according to Ernest Holmes, the entire manifestation of spirit is what the cosmos is. The entire spiritual nature. We are part of the cosmos, the sun, the moon, and the stars. So when you look in the mirror tomorrow morning, you could just say, "Good morning, sunshine." You do that already. So this life force, this essence, permeates through all persons. The ones you like, the ones you don't like, same thing. Oh, that's a hard message. All persons, all things, within everything. This energy, this spirit, makes it what it is. It is the nature. It is our nature. So all you can taste and hear and touch and smell and see, it's part of the cosmos, this cosmic connection. And we're conscious of our union with the whole, aren't we? For 5 minutes at least. Our divine connection to all that is. This cosmic consciousness means, according to Ernest Holmes, our union with the whole, and that we recognize it. It is true whether we recognize it or not, but nevertheless, that's what we're invited to do this month, particularly. The awareness of our union with the whole, our cosmic connection. Ernest Holmes says there's a concept behind this, and he calls it, of course, the cosmic conception. And it's a theory, Ernest Holmes' theory, and the basis of the science of mind, that this universal creative spirit operates through its own mind and gives birth to form. So spirit gives birth to form. That which is invisible becomes visible through this law of life, through this cosmic purpose. The cosmic purpose is constructive. It builds something. And it's this divine nature that executes our true nature. Our true nature. So you might see some people that are not acting out of their true nature. I don't know whose nature they're acting out of. But the divine nature, according to Ernest Holmes, is towards goodness, is toward love, is toward beauty, our spiritual gifts, the virtues that's indwelling within each and every one of us. The manifestations of the cosmos, or spirit, of which we all are a part, whether we know it or not. Now, how are we playing our part? Well, I guess that depends. That depends. But the capacity and the tendency is toward love and kindness. And that's why so many people love to hear those love stories. Love Valentine's Day. Love those love songs. Because it really reminds us of our connection. It really reminds us of the truth of who we are. And perhaps up until now, we haven't thought of it that way. But I hope we will. Because many people are talking about they feel so disconnected, so disoriented, and all these other kinds of things because what they used to do yesterday, maybe they're not going to be available tomorrow. But remember, this creative spiritual energy that is the cosmos, that is what we are, keeps on creating. Keeps on creating. So what does this cosmic connection have to do with the bridge over troubled water, you ask? As did I. What does it have to do with that? And what is a troubled water? Well, according to Science of Mind, it represents that which is difficult. Difficulty in one's life. This bridge, it's interesting. As Patty and I were talking about it, we said, well, is it a literal bridge that we're talking about or celebrating or not? Well, let's see what you think. The bridge is here to help one overcome. It's here to surmount difficulty. It's a metaphor. It's a figure of speech. Just like being in hot water. What's that, trouble? Or it could mean literally the water's hot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're seeing here. Cold water. Throw cold water on the joy of the people. What is that? It's a downer. right? These are all just metaphors, and they're only what we say they are, what we think they are. The bridge is, Ernest Holmes says, the only way to true or higher life. Something that we cross, something that we realize. Now, a religious metaphor, like the bridge, which is a highway that carries us from the outer world of woe. What does woe mean? Is that a real word? Yeah, it is. But even if it isn't, we sort of all agreed on what that meant. Correct? All right, we created that, just so you know. If you're experiencing woe in your life, it's because you created that, or bought into it, or said yes to that. It's a real thing. But the idea that Ernest Holmes was giving us was, this bridge carries us from this outer world to higher ground. An inner consciousness that takes us to a deeper realization of who and what we are. In a way, crossing this bridge is like transformation. It's going from wherever we are up until now to that next step. We bridge the gap, that you've heard that, another figure of speech, to from where we think we are to where we think we need to go, need or want to go. It's an inner journey of awakening to what the soul already knows. The soul already knows. We may not consciously talk about it, but we're connected. Does anybody think you're not connected? Because if so, I want to know, where is that? What is outside of spirit? What is outside of God? What is outside of that? Whether or not we're recognizing it or not. So people come along, and sometimes they have a different vision of who and what they are, and who or what they can become. How many people here have had dreams? Anybody had dreams of their future? Not very many, just so you know, or they don't want me to know, which is fine. But dreams about their purpose and a resolve to a larger way of life, something that uplifts people. Now I'm going to mention some names, and these people usually have an example. So we have the Buddha that went on a journey of becoming the Buddha. Now some would say Buddha was that way from the beginning, perhaps, but he had to go through a transition and transformation to reveal the self to the self of who and what he really is still. We still talk about the Buddha, correct? Yes. Right now. The Christ. Oh. Becoming the Christ. And then one of my recent favorites, the notorious RBG. Building a bridge. You know what I learned were some of the things, many things, that this tiny in stature woman, but great woman, did for us. Did you know that there was a day before RBG that a woman couldn't get her own mortgage and buy a house, even if she was a breadwinner, without the man's signature? She couldn't open a checking account. How many of you your husband's signature so you can get a charge account at Nordstrom's or anyplace else. There was a time that this was revolutionary. How about starting a business? Many people are starting a business right now. They see a need, they're filling it, specifically along the line of mask protections. A credit card. Couldn't get a credit card unless the husband signed, really. Or even a job. There were gender-based jobs that you just couldn't get because they were reserved for men, unless there was a war and somebody had to go to work. This has really happened. And then when the man came back, you're out. We don't need you anymore. Oh, this whole idea. You could get fired because you got pregnant. I mean, I could understand if the boss was the baby daddy. Sorry, that's just me. But actually, some jobs, the woman with her husband had to prove that she was sterilized and wasn't going to get pregnant. Now, other places, no problem. You get pregnant, you get fired. That was how that situation, we'll fix that situation. So there were injustices. I think there were injustices. All I know is those things have changed, and I know that some people do want to go back to the good old gone days, but I don't really share that particular idea. But these leaders came. They came, and something within their heart led them to look at humanity differently. And even if you study the teachings, they're saying the same thing. They're saying the same thing. So what is true has always been true and always will. Now, one of the things that RBG noticed was if we do something that is positive for the woman, the whole family benefits. Back to that connection. We're connected to each other from the cosmic place and the social place. We just don't always remember that. We just don't always remember. The nature of being. The cosmic connection between you and me, between spirit, soul, and body. This awareness is called cosmic consciousness, according to Ernest Holmes. And that's what we study. That's what we study. That's what Ernest Holmes represents. That is what we're here to learn. We're here to do. We're here to practice. We're here to practice. So do you think that these people had something that you don't have? Other than maybe Buddha, because he was the son of a king. That he renounced. So we're looking at ourselves in connection with God, in connection with each other, in connection with our divine purpose. And what is it that we can do? What bridges are in front of each of us to cross? To cross. And it is so, to me, it's so exciting because we look for that all the time, don't we? We look for a leader. And with the passing of RBG, multi-generational people said, well, what are we going to do now without her? And she really was phenomenal. 4'11". But the cultural norms that weren't supporting her ideas that seemed revolutionary at the time. But she made change. Her presence made change. And some of the people were saying, well, what are we going to do now that we're ruthless? I guess we're going to have to march. I guess we're going to have to stand up for ourselves. Pretty remarkable, I think. I don't know. I mean, she did more exercises after chemotherapy than many people did under any circumstances. She used the power of the pen, the power of her voice. She used the intellect, reason, persuasion. And she was the first woman to the Supreme Court. And it's so funny because her kids were interviewed because she wasn't a good cook. Now, it sounds like she could, walk on water, talk to God, all these things. But, cooking just wasn't her thing. And so they said, well, why is it that this husband does the cooking and you didn't? And they said, the kids asked, could Dad please do the cookies? Because we're not good at everything, are we? But we are at our thing. At our thing. And so how do you know what your thing is versus what it's not? How do you know? You got a vision, but you don't want to look at that, right? Some have dreams, some have ideas, some think, well, listen, I'll just look at what the fortune cookie says. That'll be what I'll decide to do. But some people say, yeah, well, if there's nothing else, let's go with that. Okay, but let's think about this. It's time to act. Time to act. So we're being called to embrace our spiritual nature. This is an inside job. And some might think, well, listen, I really would like Reverend Stacy to handle this for me so I can go take a nap. She can pray with me, but it is up to me to embrace my own divine nature. It is an inside job. What else? From a soul level, recognize and celebrate this cosmic connection to life. Person, place, and things. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I said as easy as 1, 2, 3. We're invited to affirm, speak the spiritual truth. From a place of love, from a place of truth, from a place of connection. And love. Build a bridge. People do it all the time. Life, living, and loving. So what actions, what are we called to do? Let us resolve to tell the truth to ourselves. Start there. Let us resolve peace, to choose peace instead of war. Choose peace. Let us resolve to love versus hate. It's a choice that we can make that heals creation, our homes, our communities, our societies. It's that do the inner work, the spiritual practice. Do it. We love reading. Many times we love reading. It's interesting to read about. But then take action and do something. Reveal the truth, the cosmic consciousness. Become the change you want to see. Now, if you think about the 3 that I named, and I'm sure there are others, but they became the change. And then people saw it and said, I want the Buddha way. I want the way of the Christ consciousness. There are people that said, I really want a world that works for everyone. Does anybody want a world that works for everyone? Let me raise your hand if you do. Okay. Good. I was getting nervous before. I get nervous for a minute. Because sometimes it looks like, hey, look, there's not enough of anything to go around. There's not enough money. So if I have plenty of money, then Patty can't have any. That's not what we teach here. That's the law of limitation. I don't even know if there is a law of limitation. But if there is, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Do you?
No.
There is enough. There is enough. And I remember Ernest Holmes, I think he was about 9 years old, his last Lvcsl in the Sermon by the Sea. It's very long. I'm not going to talk about the whole thing. But one of my favorite parts was the Lvcsl. I used to go to Lvcsl with one of my friends. We went every year for 10 years. How many people here have ever been to a Lvcsl? Not very many. Okay, so basically it was our religious science church collective annual camp experience. And what happened is you would go, you'd be outdoors, a beautiful area, and you would have everything, classes, meditations. You were just steeped in this beautiful religious science world and reality. And what Michelle and I would do is every year we would write we're not practitioners or ministers at the time, but we would write our prayer request. And we would submit them in the prayer box at Lvcsl in Pacific Grove, Monterey Peninsula. And of course, every year, what we had put in the box demonstrated. Sure did. And every year, we would go back and celebrate. And that last time that we went together, she had put in, and we didn't really understand how small, a prayer request was at that time. So we'd be writing books of things about our prayer requests. Okay. And so we did it, confession. And so she had done all that, and we would do it together because we were friends, and we got to be friends because we went to the same center, and it was really something. And she was writing everything because she wanted to find her soulmate, what she called her soulmate. She wanted to get married. She wanted to have a husband, and she wrote everything about this guy. Everything. His profession, I think he was a lawyer. And then after everything, there's no more room on the paper. She writes down, and he's a gourmet cook. And I go, take that off. I wasn't a minister or practitioner at the time. I go, take that off. And so the next year, as was our tradition, we went back to Lvcsl, to Pacific Grove, California, where she and I had our faith and our life experience elevated for a decade. So to us, we thought it was so beautiful. The meditations, etc. Well, she went back, we went back for her wedding. And what was so beautiful and moving and spiritual, the Tibetan bells and the deep voices of the ministers in the meditations, it didn't look that great to her husband, to be. He didn't see it the way we had seen it, because we saw our experience. And so while they did get married, and he was a gourmet cook by hobby, because he was also an attorney in private practice. Exactly what she had written down. I have little faith, told her to take that off. She goes, no, I want to know that this is the answer to that specific prayer. She's always been that way. I don't know why. I guess she just wanted to know. She wanted that bridge. She wanted to see that connection with the source in a way that she could understand. So if she wanted an item, she put a price tag on it to know that was the one that she called forth in spirit. So that was what happened, and she did get married, and we were up in that area, but not, because that looked like a Boy Scout camp to him.
Yeah, I remember.
See? And so what we remembered was our growth in awareness. We remembered the beauty of nature. We remembered all those workshops and all those ministers and all those prayers. I mean, we loved it. To us, it was beautiful. So anyway, they were married for quite a long time until he did pass. So I'm just going to say this, which is my favorite part. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But Ernest Holmes starts out in Sermon by the Sea, and he says, find me one person who is for something and against nothing. So this idea of being for something, it's affirmative. It's your affirmations. You are for something and against nothing. And this is a next part. Who does not condemn others out of the burden of his own soul? Because that's where that condemnation comes from. I find another Redeemer, the Redeemer of my soul. This is what religious science, this is paraphrased because it's much longer, what religious science is all about. And so as we move forward today, let us remember that our nature, our spiritual nature, our creative nature is one with God's nature, one with the cosmos. You are here for a time such as this. And so I invite each person to let their love light shine. First with yourself. First with yourself. Put all that cream and everything on you think you need. Oh, that must have been me. But you're already beautiful. You're already whole. You're already perfect. You're unique. You're part of the cosmos. And I'm blessed to be here with you, and we're blessed to have each other. Thank you. All right, so let's just relax. Think peace. Think love. Think family. And so in this moment, as we close our eyes, we're invited to open our hearts even wider than before, knowing that those maybe called dusty places or dust-ups in our lives are just there on the path, on the bridge to self-discovery and a greater awakening to the truth of who we are and why we are here. We know that we are all connected to each other. We're part of the cosmic plan, which is for us, not against us. And so we commit and recommit to that journey of awakening, not just for ourselves, but for those we love and those we have yet to love. For the pets that need a home, that people that need food. We are part of the human experience, and we are not limited in any way to what has happened up until now. So in this moment, I'm declaring a new day, a new love, a new wealth, a new level of health and help and harmony and purpose and satisfaction. We truly are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we are naming it. I am naming it. I am calling it good and very good, and so it is that we go our way in peace. Amen.
Amen. So it is.
Repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening to me right now.
Something wonderful is happening right now.
I know this in my mind.
I know this in my mind.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Great week.